I think
Mhm.
a lot of people go into this field feeling that you have to be in the blazer, in the suit, the makeup done, the hair done, being dressed to a T. I've showed up to my showings in paint covered clothes, messy hair, and my clients understand that I'm a real person. Nobody wants to talk to somebody who's a robot.
Welcome back to the Better Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Lavik, and we're talking about real estate and your real estate business and how to grow and become better and better. That's what I'm all about as an agent and a team leader and a real estate investor as well. And that's what I'm hoping to share with our listeners as well, is a little bit more of some of my background in the last 20 years in real estate, but also sharing some of the background of my guests of what they've done and what's working well for them to grow their business and become a better agent as well. And so I'm excited to, learn from our discussion today. Today I've got a wonderful guest. Her name is Kayleigh Chrostowski, and we're kind of in similar markets, but she's a little bit further south. So I'm more in the Madison market, but she kind of covers more Rock County and Janesville markets. But definitely some overlap, I'm sure. And but I don't think we've fully crossed paths or done any transactions together.
No,
But
we haven't.
I'm excited for our dialogue today. So Kayleigh, why don't you introduce yourself and feel free to share a little bit more with our listeners about your background and more on your story.
Yeah, I'm Kayleigh Chrostowski. I'm a realtor broker with Rock Realty. We're located in Janesville and Stoughton. I live in Janesville, but I do cover quite a radius. I travel about 2.5 hours all the way in Wisconsin. I've been an agent for 2.5 years, and I recently just got my broker's license in January, I believe. So I've been doing it for about half a year now. But yeah, I started real estate because my parents are actually in real estate, and that kind of got me into it. But yeah, it's a brief overview of where I'm located and how long I've been doing it. And I've closed about a little over 50 transactions. I think I'm
Okay.
almost to 60. I've kind of lost count, but
Okay.
I've been busy. So it's been good.
Yeah. So 50 roughly since you started in 2.5 years. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Nice. Well, that's certainly a good milestone for sure. When the national average is right around 7 or 8 transactions a year. I mean, you're well ahead of that. So congratulations. I
Thank
mean,
you.
hitting that milestone is it's a big deal. And
Thank you.
I think your story is interesting to me too, because mine's kind of similar, right? I also learned from my parents. My mom is a realtor as well, and that's how I kind of got into the business. But my parents are separated. But my dad also had an interest in real estate. He's more of I'd say an investor and owns a bunch of rental properties and that type of thing. But it's interesting how our parents can kind of shape and mold and get us on that pathway. But I mean, it's 2.5, 3 years now, and broker's license. I mean, you
Mhm.
must like doing this. I mean, you're doing fairly well. I mean, is this
Oh, I
feel like, yeah?
I love it. I mean, my mom she's also a broker at the same brokerage I'm at. So we haven't done a transaction yet together, but we've shown several of each other's properties.
Okay.
So my mom, started probably around 7, 8-ish years ago. My parents are licensed contractors here in Wisconsin. And actually my dad does own a lot of rental properties. So
Yeah.
there are a lot of similarities here. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I grew up on the job site at my dad's rentals. And as far as my mom's open houses go, before I was an agent, I actually marketed her open houses. So I've been in the real estate world longer than 2.5 years, just not licensed. And then
Yeah.
finally, I took the jump and I absolutely love it. It's by far the best job I've ever had. I'm very, very happy with my decision and plan on staying in this field.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, what were you doing, and what were you doing before real estate? What got you into this business 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, so I went to college at UW Whitewater. I graduated in 2022. I double majored in entrepreneurship and general management. And during the time of going to college, I was a full time server at Olive Garden. So sales has kind of ran in my blood, I realized, but I didn't fully realize this until
Yeah.
recently. I graduated college and then I moved up to Baraboo and I was in the corporate office for the Kalahari where I did marketing there for all four
Okay.
locations at that time. I believe since I've left, they've opened a couple locations, but at that time I worked on marketing four of them. And
Yeah.
then after the Kalahari, I kind of switched paths and I was an auditor for the state of Wisconsin, which is the person everybody loves. I made sure everybody was paying their taxes. So
Yeah.
I worked for the Office of the Commissioner of Insurance. So I audited insurance companies on the financial side. And then I wanted a good change of pace. I didn't want to be in an office and commuting to work. It was about an hour drive every day, which isn't bad because now I say I drive 2.5 hours for showings.
Mm,
But it's a good change of pace. I enjoy the change in work environment. So yeah,
mhm.
then I did real estate while working at OCI in Wisconsin as an auditor. I did both for a while, and then I finally was able to take that jump and do real estate primarily and just do it full time.
Nice. Good for you. That's awesome. That's that's definitely a big leap for a lot of people, right? Getting to do that full time, right? Like especially
Yeah,
sometimes when you're in that W-2 hourly type of role, it's like, oh my gosh, can I do this entrepreneurial endeavor and go into real estate? But I think, sometimes you have to take that leap of faith and you have to kind of just go for it. And yeah, I know for me, like it was something I didn't plan on originally, but had a couple other jobs before getting into real estate. But I think, once you decide and really commit to that entrepreneurial way, it's like, oh, this is great. And then you keep doing
yeah.
it. And then the more you dive in, the more it compounds and the more opportunities you uncover and the more people you can serve and the more people you can help. And ultimately you just keep getting better and better. So that's awesome. I love that story. Very cool. So all right, you're so yeah, so still I'm so you've had that's pretty good success, I think, over 2.5 years. I mean, really just what do you think for because there's a lot of agents out there that maybe are struggling. They've been in it 2.5 years, they haven't sold 50 homes, right? Maybe they've done 10 or 20 or whatever deals in that time frame. And what do you think for you was the moment that it really clicked when you're like really starting to get some more momentum and things are really working? Like, what was that like after 6 months or a year? Or what do you think were the things or the ingredients you would say maybe that really started to jive and you're like, okay, yeah, this is going to work and this is great?
I will say I lucked out. So my first year I closed 17 properties, I believe. Second year, I think 26. And I have a competition going with my broker right now, my managing broker. I'm trying to hit 30 transactions. And if I hit 30, he gets me a $10 gift card. That's our deal behind the
Yeah.
scenes. But as far as like gaining traction, I was very lucky when I started. A lot of my age group was buying their first homes. And so I had a lot of people from high school and college reach out who knew me personally. And so I did have a lot of SOIs my first
Hmm.
year. And then ever since, now I've been selling the homes that they first purchased. But
Hmm.
I would say something that really kind of clicked is just being yourself. I think
Hmm.
a lot of people go into this field feeling that you have to be in the blazer, in the suit, the makeup done, the hair done, being dressed to a T, high heels. And that was me when I first started real estate. And now a lot of my clients know I bought a fixer upper. It looks very pretty now, but there's certain parts of the house
Sure.
that aren't pretty. And so I've showed up to my showings in paint covered clothes, messy hair, and my clients understand that, hey, I'm also working on fixing up a home and
Yeah.
I'm a real person. And I just think being more real with your clients and letting them know your personality, knowing what you're doing on the side for fun, for hobbies, I think that really helps connect your clients to yourself as a realtor, as a broker. Nobody wants to talk to somebody who's a robot, who is very clear
Yeah.
cut, dry,
Yeah.
doesn't have much behind them. So I just think being yourself is really where I gain that traction.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that makes sense, right? I mean, people want authenticity and I think, I've really noticed this too. I know you mentioned, you especially with a lot of your starting out clients, right? They were maybe more similar to your demographic, right? They were people you went to school with or friends with or at college or whatever, and maybe they were first-time buyers and that type of thing, which totally makes sense. But, I can tell you over my 20-year career, I've worked with people in all different price ranges and you know what? People that are still spending $1 million, $2 million homes, they want the same thing as a first time
Hmm.
buyer. They want you to be real. They want you to be authentic. They want you to show up and just, don't put a facade on, just be yourself and give them, your real gut level advice or whatever it might be. And, we don't need to try to pretend to be something that we aren't, and
Hmm.
I think it takes a while, right? Because I think when you're new, I know when I was new, I could probably dig up some bad photos of like I got some horrible hair and like too much tie was way too tight.
Yeah.
I don't know. And like, I'm sure I could find some old photos because my confidence wasn't there, right? When I was young, I mean, I was young, I was in my 20s when I first started and I'd never even owned a home before. Like I'm trying to sell real estate and I wasn't a homeowner, and my confidence was like, oh my gosh, can I even do this? And I think eventually I bought a home, and then I eventually worked with more clients, and eventually just kept going, and my confidence grew. And like, I think at that point I was able to show up more authentically and like not try to
Mhm.
feel like I have to present myself in a certain way. So kind of like fine line, right? Like you need to build your
Yeah.
confidence, but I think also showing up with an air of authenticity and just sharing what you do or do not know, I think is fine, right? Like if, but I think that's interesting, right? You're fixing up a home, right? Like that's part of what you're doing as an agent, right? People want to hear some of those
Mhm.
stories, right? If you're fixing up a home or you're doing whatever, right? Like how does that, how did you come to that decision, right? You bought this fixer upper and it's working out, right? Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
maybe I can do that too, right? Like that builds, I think, confidence in your clients, I would imagine. So I don't know. What do you
Oh,
think of that?
definitely. Oh, I completely agree. And I mean, the thing is, a lot of my people are doing the same thing or similar to what I did. I bought a cheaper home and was able to, I do have an advantage because my parents are licensed contractors. So I come with a little bit more
Mhm,
knowledge than I would say your average person does. But
mhm,
I can accurately estimate what these projects are going to cost for people because I've probably done every single project that they're planning on doing, whether it's new flooring, landscaping, drywall, doors, all of that. I mean, I've done so much to this house that it's a little insane. But I can price
mhm.
out like what's your driveway going to cost because I got a new driveway. What's your
Yeah.
air conditioning install going to cost because I bought a house without air conditioning and it's really not that bad. So, it does help people put it into perspective because in Wisconsin, our summers are getting hotter and I'll show properties that don't have air conditioning installed. And I'm like, well, let's look at the ductwork. Can air conditioning be installed with this property? Or do you need a mini split? And what's the average cost of it? So it does kind of help give my buyers a sense of ease just
Mhm.
because, hey, it's actually not that bad. It seems bad, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Maybe plant a few more trees or something, right? Keep the shade going
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's hard to imagine though, right? Like on those hot summer days, that's when you want air conditioning. But even window units can be a thing too, right? Like that can get you by for a time. And
Hmm.
if you don't have full central air, I mean, it's all kind of trade-offs, I think, too.
Oh,
No, that
yeah.
makes yeah. Okay, well I mean, yeah, I think that's good too. I think the thing about estimating and pricing and some of that and repair costs, and I know that could be a challenge for a lot of agents out there too, like especially on an inspection, right? Like if you have a bad home inspection and like you get this long repair checklist, it's like, oh my gosh, how much is all this going to cost? And you don't even
Hmm.
know. So I think some of that some of it maybe, AI can help you estimate these days, right? With some of that information, but some of it you just need to get a contractor there, right? You need to go through the motions. At least that's the way I did it anyway, is early on, if I didn't know the price on a new air conditioning system or on average, what do I got to do? Let's make some calls. Let's find
Yeah.
those actual bids. And I think, it's one thing to just Google search or do some kind of internet search to try to find an estimate, but there's nothing like real numbers from a real contractor that
Oh,
can
yeah.
really help your negotiation, right? Because, yeah, Google might say it's one thing, but, when you get a real contractor and you got a real estimated invoice in front of someone like that will strengthen your negotiating position all day long, I think.
Oh, 1000%. And the AI, oh my gosh, it drives me nuts because they're always so inflated.
Yeah.
I'll see, oh my gosh, I just had a buyer probably about a month ago. The roof is a little bit older. It doesn't need to be replaced yet. And I always say, don't fix it if it's not broke,
Yeah.
but so roof is a little bit older and she got a quote online through, through ChatGPT. And I thought her quote was $24,000. And
Yeah.
it's a small 2 bed, 1 bath. And I was like, it is not going to cost 24,000 at all whatsoever. For that size of
Yeah.
home, it would cost her maybe 8 grand. So
Right.
I gave her my contractor's info and I was like, hey, don't go off of ChatGPT or AI. They're so
Yeah.
inflated. And it takes the national average. It doesn't take the average for,
Yeah.
Wisconsin is definitely a little bit cheaper for projects than I'd say California or some of our southern states.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something to be said for that, right? Like, yeah, maybe AI can be a helpful starting point, but it's not the finishing point, and it
Mm-mm.
needs your judgment, it needs insight and other contractor judgment to make that determination. Like, yeah, this is legit or it's not. It takes editing and insight. So I love that for sure. All right. Well, yeah, you got lots of inspiration from your family members around you. You got lots of good growth and support, and seems like you're doing things well. what do you think were some challenges you hit along the way in the last couple years that made you question, is this maybe the right path, or did you? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've thought about giving up multiple times, right? Like I feel like every winter it's like it slows down. Oh my gosh, is it going to keep coming? Is the spring still going to come? And every year it does. So luckily, I've been gotten better at that. But it's like, how do you weather maybe the downturns in this business? Because I would imagine, you've probably experienced at least one or two of those. So, is there something that comes to mind for you of a time where maybe you were second guessing yourself or weren't really sure, or how did you get through maybe a low point that you're willing to share?
Yeah, I mean, this business, you definitely do need a work-life balance, which is very hard to do in real estate. I'd
Yeah.
say one of my if anyone's planning on becoming a realtor, get a business phone before you become a realtor. Do not use your cell phone because I use my cell phone for everything. And so my cell phone's on the MLS, it's on realtor.com, Zillow, my Instagram, Facebook, email, everywhere. And while I love having direct access to my clients whenever I need to contact them, it would sometimes be nice to have a little bit of separation. And I find that now my personal cell phone is now just primarily a work phone. I don't use my cell phone for much personal things anymore. It's just straight work. But as far as like downtimes in real estate, I would say I've been very fortunate that I've only had a few months in real estate where I haven't had a closing. I've lucked out where most of the months I do have a closing. The hardest
Mhm.
part for me is when I started real estate, I was also working a full-time job. So
Mhm.
I originally started real estate as an idea of a side hustle, essentially, of just,
Yeah.
making extra money, paying down my student loans, paying down my debt. And then I didn't expect to love it as much as I did. So the difficult times for me were probably not going to be some of the difficult times for people who are looking at getting into real estate or those who have been in real estate, because nobody wants to work with a realtor who isn't available 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So, I was kind of juggling keeping that side of my life hidden from
Mhm.
clients. So that
Mhm.
way I still was a desirable agent, but also still making sure that I was showing up for both jobs in the best way possible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a hard thing to do, right? It's hard, I think, sometimes to when you're first starting out, right? You're making that decision, right? Do I leap full time? Do I not? How long can I go? Is this going to work? Is it going to take off? Right? Because you get used to that stability of every 2 weeks, there is a paycheck. And
Mhm.
then if you fully quit, then you're 30 to 60 to 90 days out, best case
Yes.
scenario. And so you gotta plan for that or pay, somehow, plan for that time. But no, I think that's a hard thing. I think I know when I first started, I worked another part-time job. It was more, bartending and waiting tables and that type of thing. And so it was more maybe nights and weekends occasionally, but so I don't think it conflicted as much during the day. But I know there's lots of agents out there that maybe start real estate as a side hustle, and that can make sense. But I think to get to where you're at, to become a better agent, to become doing 50 transactions or more, right? Like it takes that full-time commitment. There's just not enough hours in a day, right? I
No,
think anyway. I mean, I don't
I
know.
had no life my first I mean, still I feel like I have no life,
Yeah.
but I had no life, especially the first year starting out because I did 17 transactions my first year while
Yeah.
working full time that entire year. And I finally just left my auditing job. It's going to be almost a year. So I left at the end of August of last year
Yeah.
and I've just been doing real estate this entire time.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. Work-life balance may not exist for a season, right? And if you're
Not
brand
during the
new, maybe
spring.
well, maybe that's your season. And I've come to terms with that in some ways, right? Like I sometimes my wife gets frustrated at me, like I'm gone a lot on appointments or whatever, and I'm, work a few extra weekends and that type of thing. And I'm better at it now than I used to be. I mean, I was guilty of working 7 days a week, and this business, I think, can allow that. And if you don't
Mhm.
set boundaries around your schedule, I think it's easier to do that. Or if you don't have a team or an assistant or somebody that's helping you, I think it can also lend yourself to working too much, and that'll lead to burnout. But I think, there's certainly a season though, right? If you want to achieve to get that, I kind of liken it to the airplane analogy, right? It's like if you want to get that airplane off the freaking runway, you better go all in 100% and
Yeah.
until it takes off. Like, don't taper back or you're going to crash. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, you need to
Yeah.
get off the runway. So get off the runway And then you can maybe put some boundaries on your time and your work-life balance and all that kind of stuff. But, I think there's something to be said for at a certain point, if you're going to go all in and go 100% until you get enough of a lift where you can kind of ease back on the throttle a little bit. So that's my
Oh, yeah.
interpretation.
No, I completely agree. I mean, spring market, that's definitely it for me is going
Yeah.
all the way. I mean, this past
Mhm.
spring, 2 months ago, I was managing 13 transactions. A lot of them have closed. I've got 6 more from that group of 13 that are
Yeah.
closing in the next month, and
Mm.
I've taken a little bit of a step back since then to now give myself a little bit of a break because it was all 7 days, showings nonstop, listing appointments nonstop, and
Yeah.
I'm so grateful, but yes, I definitely needed that little step back after that where set some work-life boundaries after you finally get the plane off the runway.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Definitely. Well, very cool. Gosh, I don't know. What else? I don't know. We've talked about a lot of different things today here, Kayleigh. Anything on your mind that you think our listeners would be interested in hearing more about, or things that are working well for you? If I'm an agent looking to grow my business, looking to get off the runway, so to speak, and really take things off to that next level, what would you say to that agent?
Yeah, I would say, really focus on marketing. So I created my own website, and my website has a direct link to the MLS. So it saves me time as I'll just actually send people my website and say, hey, I've got a buyer guide on there. My portfolio's there. I've got a link to the MLS where you can search for properties. And it saves me time because they can actually set up their own search for themselves for exactly what they want, which is so nice rather than us having to do it, set them up on Paragon or WireX. They can just do it themselves through my website. I add a lot of my clients on Facebook, the ones that I am comfortable with sharing my personal life with. I think that's really nice because while you close them, you definitely need to keep up with them. And, eventually they're going to sell the house they bought and buy another house. And so I keep all of my people on Facebook so that way they can see. My Facebook is very professional but unprofessional. I have like my personal stuff on there where I'll just post what I'm doing, my landscaping, the projects, any trips I'm taking with my family or my boyfriend, my animals. And so they'll see my personal side, but then they'll also see, oh, it's closing day or, accepted offer on my listing. So I'd say just getting personal with your clients is really great. I've been invited to people's baby showers, to their housewarming parties, to their weddings. So kind of making your clients your friends. I've got several clients. I actually, funny enough, tonight, one of my girls who bought a house with me last October, we've now become friends, and she's actually now becoming a realtor, and she's coming over tonight to hang out. And we're just doing a
Nice.
nice little dinner girls' night. So it's great to get close with your clients and,
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, this is nothing new, right? Right? Like stay in touch with your past clients, your friends, right? I think a lot of agents too. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, but like even now, most of my business still comes from a lot of my friends and past clients and relationships and people I'm still friends with on Facebook too, right? It can be that additional way to stay in touch and still stay connected. It's kind of an interesting way to do it, right? But
yeah,
it's an easier way to go about it. So if you're not using social media as that nurturing tool or something, you gotta find a way to do that. And certainly, technology makes it easy enough to just add a friend and stay connected, and it's easy enough to do.
yes,
But yeah, you gotta go that extra step, right? So
yeah,
love that for sure. Yeah, marketing and directly to the MLS link, I think that's important too, right? At the end of the day, right, we're trying to connect people with properties, right? That's our role, that's our job. And whether you're using our direct MLS link or your own website or something, like that process needs to be kind of part of your daily rhythm almost, right? Like
hmm
you need to be connecting people and properties and like, I mean, there's been several times where actually one of the most successful things I ever did, and I've done it several times, but like I'll find a property that I think is a great deal, right? Like maybe a fixer upper that you bought, right? So something that I think is maybe a great deal for something for somebody. I don't know who, but I'll identify that property and I'll send it to not just one person, but a ton of people. And I'll just send it out. Hey, I thought I saw this property. I thought about you. I know I don't, or you're maybe not in the market. If you are, it looks like a great deal or something like that.
yeah,
So I think finding sometimes just a way to add value and show your expertise as an agent and identifying opportunities in the market, I think is a good skill to follow. And that's one thing that's worked well for me, but it takes going that extra step, right? You got to market yourself. You got to put yourself out there.
Hmm.
And it's a combination of whatever, phone calls, text messages, emails, whatever it might be. But I think continuing to get that message out there is definitely helpful. So that's good.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. What else, Kayleigh? Anything yeah, I don't know. Anything else before we wrap up our show? I mean, we've touched on a lot of things, right? So being authentic, show up and be yourself and get to know contractors, whether they're your family members, right? Getting to know those contractors and vendors to help get good at estimating, work-life balance, it's hard to do sometimes as you get busy,
Yeah.
but it's okay to have it for a season, maybe not have work-life balance, but then try to implement some procedures to make sure you take that downtime. And especially it can be hard if you're working 2 jobs. What else? Connect with your sphere, stay in touch, social media, Facebook. I mean, those are the secrets here. These are
Yeah.
the secrets to being successful in 2026. That's for sure. They're great. I love it. Anything else on your mind that you think we want to talk about that you think our listeners might get value from today?
I'd say another piece of advice is don't take things too personally in real estate. Everybody
Yeah.
knows a realtor, just like how we all know several nail artists, hair
Yep.
salons. You can only use one, and so I've had family and friends use other realtors, and it's been hard in the very beginning to see that and be like, why didn't they work with me? What's wrong with me? And it's just something that's very important to keep on your mind of, hey, you also don't use every single hairstylist. I mean, I've helped people where their cousin or their aunt is a realtor, and I'm like, this is so uncomfortable, but I'm grateful you chose me, but everybody's going to have a completely different relationship with others. And while maybe your cousin chose somebody else who's an agent, you don't know their relationship with that person. Unfortunately, business is business and it has to maintain that way. And
Mhm.
while we're expecting our clients not to bring their emotions into the transaction, we also have to hold ourselves accountable to do the same as well.
Yeah, great advice. I love that. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've had several times too, right? I've had friends or family that didn't choose me as their agent. Obviously, I wish they would, right? I mean, who doesn't,
Hmm.
right? I mean, you know them and they know you. Why wouldn't they choose you? But sometimes, for whatever reason, they don't always have that relationship. But I've also had people I don't know that came to me and said, yeah, we have a relative who's in the business, but we didn't necessarily want to use that person. So, it can work in your favor the other side too. It just kind of depends. And I think it's just not being attached to that outcome is another thing that's sort of a mantra that I've used over the years that I think is helpful. Right. So whether they choose you or not, at least if you get an opportunity to have a conversation, that's all you can ask for. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, they're going to make a decision, but it's kind of like showing a house and you can't make them buy it. If they want to buy it, they're going to buy it,
Hmm.
right? Not touch that outcome and like just showing the opportunity. But I think that's something important as well, for sure. So yeah, somehow
Yeah.
not taking things too personally, right? Take that ego down a notch, right?
Hmm.
It can be hard sometimes in the moment. Why wouldn't they choose me? They might, what did I do? But sometimes that's just
Yeah.
what you got to do and go find the next opportunity because you know what? There's someone else out there that did choose you, right? Over 50 people have chosen you and said yes. And you know what? That's awesome. So keep it going. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Well, Kayleigh, this has been fun. I appreciate you coming on the podcast and coming on the show and sharing more about your background and your insight. I mean, you've got good timeless principles that I think lots of people can relate to. I know I can for sure. I mean, there are things that, a lot of similarities that have worked for me over for many, many years. And obviously they're still working for you today. And if anyone else is listening, I'm sure if they're struggling and want some more encouragement, these are timeless principles that will definitely work for sure. So it's good.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Well, tune in next time to the Better Agent podcast, and we'll be sharing more about what's working within our real estate market and how to be a better agent, better and better. That's what we're all about here. Tune in to the Better Agent podcast on our next episode. Again, I'm Josh Lavik with Kayleigh Chrostowski. Did you love this episode? Then don't miss what's next. Discover how top agents grow their business, handle more clients, and build a powerful brand in real estate. Watch the next video for practical strategies and tools to take your career to the next level. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join our community of winning agents.